Okay, it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. There's a lot going on with Ahsoka. I've left a couple days. I like to let you guys get caught up on everything that's going on, but there's some stuff I think that I need to air out, and I figured let's do it late for the East Coast, kind of early for the West Coast. Uh, the Europeans, it's morning, very early morning. But anyway, all right. So this last episode of Ahsoka has me wondering. And the thumbnail, if it brought you in at all, this is what I'm gonna kind of talk about today. And more specifically, the question that's in the air after this episode was more about Jason Sindula, right? And does this little dude know? Did Hera tell him the truth? Does he know his lineage? Does he know who his father is? You would think that, you know, I feel like he would know at this point, but then again, I'm not really sure. You know, it's hard to say based on what little we see. The same thing goes for the final scene in Rebels, the epilogue of Rebels. We only see him for a brief second. We get to see how old he is after the Battle of Endor. So there's a lot going on in this little bubble here. And the big thing I'm curious is, and I hope we get the answer to this along the way, is does he know he's force sensitive? Is he at the point where he is starting to show his abilities? Um, there's a lot of ifs out there right now with this character. I wasn't sure. A lot of people had mentioned that we would see Jason Sindula joining the Rebels crew, but I wasn't sure if it was going to really happen at this point. The fact that he mentions Sabine and gets excited about her being a Jedi, it makes me very curious what conversations have been had over the years. Has he, met Ahsoka? Are there, is Hera's is Hera's I don't want to put this. Is Hera's hesitation to tell Jason and or ask Ahsoka to train Jason is kind of up in the air, I guess, because of the relationship between Sabine and Ahsoka and how Sabine's training has gone over this tenure in between the end of Rebels and now. So I'm very curious if he even knows, if he plays around with the Force at all. Are we going to get to see any kind of conversations like that? It's very I'm very curious as to, like I said, as to where Dave is going. I've been watching a lot of Dave interviews this week, catching a lot of shorts, a lot of longer form videos, listening to Dave and the actors talk about Rebels. The Rebels is getting a lot of celebration right now. It's getting a lot of appreciation. The actors, you're starting to see some of these interviews with the actors coming forward and talking about it. Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm very curious to see where that part of the story pans out. Is that a setup for Skeleton Crew? Right? Is Jason going to be one of the main characters in that? I'm very curious where this is going to go. Um, More importantly, in this episode, I'm just so curious. He has to know about his father, right? He has to know that Kanan, you know, delivered one of the final nails in the coffin of the Imperial reign on Lothal. You have to figure that he's celebrated. If Hera is celebrated as a general, and Sabine as one of the saviors of Lothal, you would think that Jason would have heard some of this stuff by now. Hugh Yang's got a horrible filter. He's got a really bad filter. He can't really not say what he's thinking, which is a lot of fun for me. I've enjoyed the witty banter that is Hugh Yang and Sabine. So it's been a lot of fun for me. I've enjoyed the show. You know, you guys know me. I'm not really going to dislike or voice my negativity on any Lucasfilm Star Wars project. However, um, the anger from some fans and creators is pretty comical. Just in the thumbnails and the titles, I don't watch a lot of the negative stuff going on in the space. It's very difficult to keep the positive feeling of this IP when you're constantly a barrage of negativity from every angle. You're just like batting them down, like, oh, what's up, um but yeah, and it's unfortunate. I feel for people that aren't enjoying what's going on. I don't feel like this is really a negative in of anything yet. But I've heard the complaints. The galaxy far, far away isn't just a galaxy far, far away anymore, because now there's a new galaxy farther and farther away. um I've heard, of course, the shindig is a real thing. Hashtag shindig. um the stabbing, of course, all the stabbings in Star Wars have been accepted with very or received with very negative tone. And so I can't really say that the shindig is really a surprise. But I guess it's not for me. This is a little more explainable than, say, the Inquisitor getting stabbed in the stomach, or Riva's stomach stab. Those are a little more like gut and tummy stuff. Third episode. I listened to about 45 seconds collectively of the other streams of talking about it today, and maybe 5 seconds here, 10 seconds here. And the complaints that I heard were, number one, that the that the well, like I just said, the galaxy far, far away is no longer just the galaxy far, far away. It's further and further away. But more so, number two, I would say number two being the the aerial fight, the space fight scenes were were the slowest or the worst that we've ever seen. For me, the stuff inside of the ship, inside the cockpit of the enemy fighters that Shin and Morok are leading, feel that like Shin's headset and everything felt like Obi-Wan when he was fighting Jango Fett above Geonosis, right? When he has his like silver microphone, like this stuff felt kind of vintage, right? And it kind of gave me that feel of Kenobi in his Jedi Star Fighter with this. So again, the space battles for me are always entertaining. I'm never upset at what's going on there, but this episode was a little slow. This episode was filler. This episode was boring. Um, yeah, okay. I watched some of X-Wing's stream, and I'm not calling him out. I'm just saying one of the complaints above other people were saying that the training was too Japanese influenced. There's a lot of little things going on, and that's okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But that style of training didn't bother me. In fact, I really enjoyed Hugh Yang with his extra limbs, and the you know I guess with each style you're looking for a specific blade slash. So she was below par. Again, they have a conversation about how she's the worst Jedi. We hear that conversation yet again while they're in hyperspace of how Sabine is not worthy of the standards of the Jedi. Um, and furthermore, now we know a little more about Ahsoka not wanting to train Grogu because she had failed with Sabine. Grogu, if she failed with Sabine, that has the same amount of force ability in a Jedi pinky, that's her entire body, right? If she failed with a pupil like Sabine to train a risk training a force user with the ability of Grogu, that is a task I feel like was too great for her. And we get a little more explanation into why that scene in The Mandalorian season 2 uh or 2, I'm sorry, season 2, the Ahsoka episode. Now we have a little more context as to why she's pumping the brakes on Din Djarin just handing Grogu over to her. It gives a little bit more context to that episode. We understand why she doesn't want to take a pupil, because she failed with Sabine. If she fails with Grogu, Grogu is like Anakin. Anakin lost his way. He was a powerful force user. She didn't want to risk Grogu going down the same road. That's enough. Again, that's Dave and John putting the pieces together on the whiteboard, talking about this, all that great shit. Yo, what up? How's it going on the East Coast? It's late for you guys. Thank you for joining as late as it is. But yeah, yet again, so two Japanese influence, the word Vader. Yeah, I mean that, you look, man, I don't know why people feel the way they do, right? T. Davidson's one of the fans that's skeptical, but I still look at Star Wars like Star Wars and not an IP. People need to get off the viewership train. And look, this is another thing that I have a huge problem with. Who gives a fuck? Who really cares what the viewership is? Look, everybody that I know that likes the animated show, right? That likes the Clone Wars. That's like, that's George Lucas's Star Wars. Okay. And maybe this is going to be a hot take for a minute. Everybody that's like, okay, pre-Disney purchase is where I'm at, right? Now, if that's the truth and everything post-Disney purchase is your problem, then everything Clone Wars related should be money in the bank, right? You can put it right here in the piggy bank, right? Boop, just drop it in. Now, if that's the case, then Clone Wars would be considered George Lucas. Hold on, let me make sure. Am I getting? Yeah, okay, yeah. The producers are telling me that George Lucas did Clone Wars, so that's still George Lucas's IP, right? That's still George Lucas's story before the Disney purchase. Now, if that's the argument, then Clone Wars is good. Well, then all of this kind of connecting is still holding true to George's legacy, isn't it? I mean, George helped introduce Ahsoka, right? He's the one who wanted Anakin to have a Padawan. And here we are, and I just, it's just, who cares how much viewership there is, because when George had Clone Wars up and running, they were losing money. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The Clone Wars being George Lucas's last piece of legacy in Star Wars was a money pit. They lost money every single season. But it is not okay for Disney to lose money on Star Wars. But George does it and it's fine. Right? This is my issue. You can't have one without the other. This is where I come into my like extra positivity. Like, you can't have one without the other. You can't say
George Lucas's Star Wars is the only Star Wars that I'll put up with, and that's it. That's my shit.
But at the same time, you can't say that Disney losing money is a negative because George was losing money, right? It's not about the money. It's about the legacy. It's about the mythology that they've created together. The other argument is that Awoke Tano. I told y'all. Go back and watch the old streams. I told y'all. Awoke Tano, a female-driven show, was going to catch shit. I told y'all when this started. It's a mainly female-based show. All the men of the Ghost Crew are dead. Ezra, gone. Not dead, but gone. Zeb, not seen yet. He's off with the New Republic doing shit. Kanan, dead, right? The only ones left are the females. So what? So the woke part of it, people saying that Ahsoka killed Star Wars, that Star Wars is killing Star Wars. I don't really get it personally. It boggles my mind because I want people to like it, right? I want people to be happy with it because I'm pretty happy with it. Is everything great? No. Yeah, that's been my hashtag from Jump Street when the show was coming out, because I knew it was going to be very heavily female based. I knew it was going to be Hera, Sabine, Ahsoka, Chopper, Jason. Jason's the only male, and he's got green hair, so people are going to hate him because he's got a different color hair. If you have purple, green, any other color hair, you're hated in the Star Wars universe. That's all I'm saying. So, look, it's the negativity is deafening. Cool, whatever. Who gives a shit how much money they're losing? George Lucas lost a shit ton of money before he sold his IP for the largest amount of money possible back then, right? This is nothing new. They always lose money in the grand scheme of things. Television isn't, not all television is a huge moneymaker, right? And things are more and more, no, I mean, Kanan's son. Did I say Ezra's son? I meant Kanan's son. If I said Ezra's son. These days, being woman is, I mean, look, these days, not just being a woman, but a lead role where multiple roles are women and the men are negative, right? That toxic masculinity thing is back again. This is the kind of stuff that I'm hearing. Like I said, I look over things all the time and I'm constantly checking out and kind of have my pulse on it. And it's really easy because there's not a lot of positivity going on out there. I happen to enjoy it. So, yeah, I mean, look, this community, in the grand scheme of things, this community is very small, right? My viewership in the grand scheme of things is not very large. As most of you know, YouTube is not a money driving force for me. This is more for me and for you. If I can contribute to you guys in any way, I do. If I can, and be here as a community, we've done a lot of good over the last couple of years. But look, I want to see a DNA test. Look, man, with the green hair, he looked a lot like Ezra. I'm gonna give you this one. He looked a lot like Ezra. His face, the haircut, he looked a lot like Ezra. But I'm trying to not go there in Star Wars. It's definitely. I just want to know, like, when he was, like, when in all this he was conceived, right? Like, I mean, because like mom and dad didn't have a lot of time, and then like one gets captured and then the other gets captured and then she's getting electrocuted. Like, how long is a Twi'lek pregnancy? Number one, does the human, like, there's so much that gets lost in that whole like interspecies breeding is just a crazy ass shit for me. So all I'm saying is, we'll boomerang back to Jason Sandula since I'm done with the financial talk. Jason Sandula, to me, this is going to be an interesting character because is this one of Luke's students? Is this one of, eventually, is this one of Luke's students? Does he have as much ability as we hope he does? Is he starting to show? Are we going to get a scene where maybe Jason and Sabine are together and she's like, he tells her, "Oh, you're going to be a Jedi? That's awesome." And she's like, "Yeah, well, I'm not very good at it." And they try to force grab a cup and he's like, "Oh, really?" And the cup just, like, automatically it's like, "Oh, right, you can't do that." So I hope there's one of those kind of scenes, just because he made such a big deal about Aunt Satine, Aunt Sabine becoming a Jedi. So again, this is a character a lot of people were interested to see if we were going to get. I love that he appeared, and I love that him and Chopper are doing the same thing that Ezra and Chopper. This being about 10 years after um, the epilogue of, or I'm sorry, the final scene where Ezra leaves. It's been about 10 years, and this is great because Jason looks like he's about 8 to 10 years old, which is great, or 10, potentially 10 years old, which is just a few years of when we met Ezra in the story. So that they look similar. It's great. I also love that Jason and Chopper are terrorizing the ship, right? And that's what everybody thinks of when they talk about, oh, well, where's your son? Oh, you know, they're tearing it up, just like Ezra and Chop used to have fun. So and as we can see, Chopper is very defensive about Jason, and I love. Again, I'm going to do. Unfortunately, we only see one line from Chop this episode. But I am going to do a short on it, and we are going to do the continued
What did he say?
um, shorts as we continue to talk about and educate the Muggles on what Chopper is really saying, because the Muggles have no idea. So that's more of the stuff that I'm going to be covering is are the moments of what did Chopper say. That's a big thing for me. It took a long time to be able to really understand him, but I feel like this iteration of Chopper is really easy to understand. So he only gets one line in this time, and he's like, his line was, "Yeah, so what?" When he's talking about Chopper telling Jason about Sabine becoming a Jedi. Now, let's talk about Sabine in this episode. Again, the Japanese influence. This is, for me, this is very predictable, and here's why. I'm gonna grab something off the shelf, so you guys stick around for a second. Okay, now a replica. This replica here in particular. I don't know if any of you have any Japanese swords or have any weapons that are Japanese, but this weapon is very similar to what would be a katana, right? Uh, Not so much a two. I mean, I guess you could two hand this thing if you had the right, but it's more of a one handed blade. But this is very similar to what design and style would be of a Japanese craftsmanship. And so for me, Sabine learning to wield a a Japanese style in her force, in her Jedi training, in her lightsaber training, for me, yeah, that's bad. Don, I agree. That's one of my favorite. Like, he's like, "What? It's bad to crash that ship down there." But yeah, look, it has a very Japanese feel. It has a very katana feel to it, right? And this is the original blade that Sabine learned how to fight, how to duel from Kanan and Ezra. So for me, that style of training feels very Mandalorian, right? Not so Jedi like fencing, right? The Mandalorian, the dark saber, the training almost feels different than Jedi training, right? And that's what Sabine's having a hard time connecting with, right? And this is I was watching a few videos today, and Dave was talking about each character individually. I would love to get my hands on some of these interviews. I'm going to have to. Let's see. Ladies, the oldie lords and savior literally said Star Wars took influence from Kurosawa, Grandmaster. Yeah, okay, and that's what a couple people have complained about. It's too Kurosawa. It's too Japanese. But then you get into Ahsoka, and Ahsoka's style is very Ronin is very Japanese. Her fighting style with a shuto blade and all of that stuff. So for me, the way she's going to teach is going to follow that, not so much Anakin style, because she learned different, and even her lightsabers are more samurai-esque than they are Jedi-esque. So for me, I feel like, yes, maybe it would have been more relevant, but she had training sabers because her and Sabine had trained before, and she didn't want to mess her up with real lightsabers. So she has, she doesn't have a training saber like a legit one, like the younglings had, where they could bop each other and it would just stun each other. Because she doesn't have the tools that the Jedi, even though she's got Hu Yang, that I'm sure he could build one of those. But it feels Japanese because Ahsoka's very Japanese. influence with the Shuto blade and her style, her dual wielding. And then Sabine has that Mandalorian feel with the dark saber. All of that connects to that Japanese feeling. It felt very authentic. I didn't have a problem with it. That's one of the other complaints that I'm just not understanding. That Dave's taking it too far. I don't feel that way. What else did we hear that was negative? Yeah, I mean, I people just don't want to be happy with Star Wars, right? It doesn't get it. Look, positivity doesn't get the clicks that negativity does, right? Like, oh, Star Wars is ruined. We'll get way more clicks than Star Wars was awesome this week. That's just the inevitability of it. So, look, I don't want to harp on this. I want to keep it real. Aside from the shindig, I can't think of of anything that really bothered me. Right? I feel like she should have paid more of a price than just just a hole, just a stab wound. I feel like she should have paid more of a price. She 100% should have, you know, I think got a cut from the face. Yeah, so I feel like that aside, I can't really find a reason, right? She kills an Inquisitor in Tales of the Jedi. She shows no emotion, straight dead. Serious. Yeah, look, dude. She's a bad motherfucker. The twin blade style was created by um, yeah. Look, again, I don't dislike it. Her character is heavily influenced by Japanese culture. Her dual wielding blades, her shuto saber, the flow, the design of her outfits, everything screams samurai. I don't understand the frustration in that for people. That one you can't really. It's hard to sell me on that one because not aside from George's, people don't look. I mean, I agree, Donna. Don, I agree. I agree, Don. 100%. People just don't want to be happy. They want to not enjoy the new Star Wars. Anything to slap it to Kathleen or to Lucasfilm as a whole. My question to the masses is: would the same tone be had? And the counter argument with George,
George would never do that.
but if George got to this point, tells this story, does all this the same way, do people give him the same ration of shit, or do they roll with it because it's created by George? Right? And that's that's a tough argument because people are saying that George, number one, left the kingdom in Kathleen's hand, which was a mistake. Whatever. That's old hat. That's beating a dead horse. But now people are saying that Dave should have never been his apprentice. Dave should have never been his, involved in the legacy of the IP. When George creates Ahsoka, says he wants Ahsoka to have or Anakin to have a Padawan, and then Dave, kind of twists it up a little bit and helps him along the way, but then Dave's the enemy. So, I mean, yeah, I don't understand it. All that I can say is that some of it's acting, some of it's legit, some of it's authentic, but a lot of it is just the unwillingness to be happy with what we have, right? What we're getting, the Dave Filoni version of what we're getting, right? The sequels hurt people's feelings, and people have never recovered. And I get it. You're hurt. You're scarred. I get it. I understand. But ultimately, when do we heal and move on? Right? Do we hold those grudges forever? Like forever, ever?
Forever, ever? Forever, ever? Damn.
Yeah, look, everybody, nobody's a perfect film creator, right? There was this conversation I had the other night with, James Gunn versus, I'm gonna mess this up, but whoever directed the first Batman, and I was like, look, they're two different times. You can't compare the two. It's like comparing apples and oranges. You thought it shot on 35 millimeter with 100% authentic effects to CGI everything. It's completely different. Look, I mean, again, it may be Disney Star Wars, but it's also held together by the guy who knows it and learned it from the man, right? So if that's the argument, my counter is, who taught him how to Disney? Right? I mean, who taught Dave how to do Star Wars in the first place? That's my question. Like, what would George Lucas do? Okay, great. I'm sorry, it's not. I'm sorry, it's not George Lucas Star Wars. I'm sorry, it's Disney Star Wars. But who taught the man leading the Star Wars charge right now, and the man in the captain's seat? Who taught that guy? And you're telling me that George taught Dave? You're telling me George taught Dave, and Dave said,
You know what? Fuck this, man. I'm gonna go woke. I'm gonna go woke with it all. Most powerful characters in my universe are all women. That's all we're gonna do from now on is powerful women.
"No, man. He's building a story." Listening to him talk about Sabine today on this interview that I'm sure could be 5 years old, and listening to him talk about her character growth and how they wanted her to not be an Ezra love interest, but be a wounded child, a wounded adopted child by Hera and Kanan, right? Like this whole thing, this whole character arc that he's built for this character, it's him driving this character, all of these characters. He made them. I don't understand. I wish I had more of an answer. It's Yes, it's a weird and awesome space to live, but it's also a space where there's less oxygen in the room for positivity. There's less oxygen in the room for happiness. Right? I have really enjoyed Ahsoka so far. Yes. Are there ridiculous scenes in the show? Yes. Can I explain them? Yes. Are my arguments ridiculous? Yes. For instance, the Ahsoka on the wing of the ship and the flips. Okay, mag boots. We never see her turn them off or turn them on. Whatever, cool, mag boots. But then she does the flip diddy do, cuts the wings off a fighter, and then she adds the same way she did in Clone Wars. She adds a little bit of humor as she's floating over the cockpit. She doesn't say, "Hey, Sabine, come get me," or "Hey, I'm okay," or anything like that. Her first instinct was, "Hey, Sabine, did you fix the ship yet?" Like in a fun tone. That's that's what Dave brings to the table. He knows these characters. He knows how they interact. He knows them because he wrote them and he created them. It's an amazing symphony to watch when you get to enjoy an artist revisiting their work after a 5, 6 years, whatever amount of time, and then you get to see how they progressed in his vision. Right? It's amazing to watch, and this is why George captivated us, because he did the same thing. He found a guy that was just like him. When you mentor, look, I don't know if a lot of the negative commenters and streamers and tweeters are mentors. I don't know if any of them people are mentors or have been mentors in the past. But you give a lot of energy and you give a lot of yourself when you mentor people. And when you have somebody like George that creates something like this, choosing your apprentice must have been a very, very taxing, very, very taxing experience to find the one like you, right? Or someone else like you, because George is unique. George, J.K. Rowling's, the Lord of the Rings, Tolman, I think is his name or their name or whatever. I don't want to insult anybody. And then the drag Lord of the Rings. No, like I said, Lord of the Rings. House of the Dragon is Game of Thrones. These people create worlds, right? These people create universes that we enjoy and speculate and live in. They're unique. And to find another person like you that's that great of a storyteller, that's that talented of an artist, that has that much vision forward, it's tough to find another one like you. And I know that George didn't enter that lightly. And I know that George hand selected this guy. That's why I continue to have faith in what they're doing. So far, I have not been disappointed. The premiere was amazing. Episode 1 and 2 were amazing, right? This episode was okay. I'm not gonna chill out.
I'm not gonna chill out like everybody expects to chill and shit.
No, I'm gonna call it how I see it. It was an okay episode. I felt like it was a little bit a filler, but we did get more background, we did get more information, we did get more of everything that we need to progress the story, right? We get the Purgle. We then have Hu Yang talking about the Jedi archives, talking about the Purgle and them intergalactic travel and all that fun shit, right? It was fun to have them witness them after, a decade of being away and not knowing what happened to them, to now them experiencing that and then Hu Yang talking about it, right? There's these pearls where Ahsoka and Hu Yang talk about Sabine and she wouldn't be accepted into the Jedi Order. Well, Jedi Order failed. I love the back and forth with these two. It's constant. And then you have all the other stuff going on. Marok, is he Star Killer? Well, he's a pretty nerfed Star Killer, if he's Star Killer. That's why I don't think he's Star Killer. I think Dave would do a little bit more with that character than make him an Inquisitor, a lame, limp Inquisitor, right? Star Killer was a little more powerful than that. I would like to see it illustrated properly. And let's see what's going on. Did you ever? Yeah, Avatar was fantastic. They're doing a new live action based on the show, so they're doing it again. This is building to episode 4, so watching them together makes some sense. Yeah. Look, there's a lot that was good in this episode. I'm just saying it wasn't the pop that everybody figured all these episodes were going to be because it's so short. Look, this isn't like the old days of television where you got 20 episodes, where you got 15 episodes of a show to iron all this shit out in the background, right? This is an 8-episode show now. They do 8 episodes. They do tiny fragments of shows now. This is not the storytelling of old days. So they need to put stuff in at strategic places and in limited time. Again, I feel like Morgan's ship is OP as F, right? Like Morgan's ship is pretty awesome. Next episode is going to be, look, y'all, there's going to be a lot of hate to this.
The next episode will showcase Sabine finding the Force.
That's right. That's what I'm predicting. I predict that Sabine is going to get her Force awakening moment. I know the haters are going to hate this, but this is another callback to George's Star Wars, man. This is what I don't get. This is another callback to George's Star Wars. Qui-Gon Jinn, episode 1, Anakin's blood. They're talking about it. And what does Qui-Gon say? Metachlorines are the organism that reside in the Force, or that let us connect to the Force. The more you have, the closer the connection. But it resides in all living things. Kanan reiterates that, right? Ben Kenobi reiterates this. This is a constant. The Force resides in all living things, some more than others. Do we know if Sabine had a metachlorine count test? Did Hu Yang do it in his little back laboratory all those years ago? I want to say no. And better yet, I want to say that yes, this is going to drive people nuts. But Ahsoka gives us reasoning why Sabine might have so much issue with wielding the Force. She's Mandalorian, man. She is wound up tight. She didn't go to therapy. She doesn't meditate. She doesn't do any of that stuff. She's angry. She gets frustrated. There's much darkness in her. There's a lot of hurt and anger, right? Oh man, there you go. The Force is like a door. Think about it, man. I try to look at it more like a dam, right? Once the dam is broken, it's everywhere, right? This is going, look, I genuinely believe this is when I could be wrong. I'm usually wrong. Let's be real. But this could be the episode. This could be the moment, the episode, and people are going to lose their goddamn minds. But could this be the moment where Shin tells her you have no power, and she force pulls her lightsaber from across the field? And it opens up. It's that moment, and I know people are going to say it. But could this be her Rey moment, right? Could this be another Force Awakens in a person? Luke had talent in his speeder, in his womp rat shooting experience. But until Ben Kenobi finds him, until he goes on this journey and Obi-Wan puts the blast shield on him and makes him feel the Force, from then it's open season. On the learning is exponential. The power has then been exposed and awakened. Yes, exactly. She is the dam. It's her own self that's keeping her from being able to do these things. Look, I'm not saying that Sabine is going to be this all-powerful Jedi and this thing. Who knows she's even going to live through this? I'm just saying, at this point, you got to look at the damage that is in this young lady's mind. Did she lose her whole family after they're following Bo-Katan? And the Empire comes in, and the Night of 1,000 Tears, where Bo has to give up the Darksaber to try to save her people. Did Sabine lose her whole family while she was protecting Lothal? Could that be part of why she's so frustrated and angry, and why maybe that's when she stopped training her? Because there was so much anger and hate and rage in that young lady that she wouldn't train her anymore, to fear that her first apprentice would fall to the dark side. That's heavy, dude. There's not a lot of people thinking about this because they don't want to think about it. Yo, dude, what's up, my guy? It's late out there. Hope you're doing all right. Like I said, I really believe that this next episode is either going to be, because we've already seen in the trailers, Ahsoka's fighting Marok in the background, and Sabine has been disarmed by Shin, and Shin's ready to give her the shindig again. But either Sabine uses her van braces and uses the electric rope to bring the saber to her, or the Force awakens in Sabine. And this is another example of the Force awakening in people late in life. Look, it happened to Luke. If it can happen to the Messiah, why can't it happen to the girls? They're people too. Yeah, I just feel like the woke message, I told y'all it was going to be out there. You can find it. You can Google it. I think Sam Witwer's involved, maybe doing some voice acting, but I don't really feel like Marok is going to be our buddy Sam Witwer. Or Star Killer for that matter. Maybe Sam Witwer won't be Star Killer. Maybe his voice. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that way. So look, ultimately, I'm thoroughly pleased at this point. I hope you guys are too. Again, this is a safe space. If you want to be negative, you can be negative. We've always, welcomed you to try to change your perspective and try to give you a different point of view. But to me, all the things that I saw in this episode, it's a little slow. But aside from that, it gave me those fun Ahsoka moments that I had been hoping for. Her flying by the cockpit as Sabine fixes the ship, and her not even saying, "Hey, you okay?" or "Hey, I'm okay." Her first words were like, "Sabine, did you fix the ship?" Right? Like, I'm really enjoying Ahsoka's seriousness, but yet I'm also enjoying her fun banter, right? And her wit. That's something that Rosario is doing a really good job with, is Ahsoka's wit. Again, I'm very interested to see where we go. Are they going to be able to commandeer? We know Thrawn is coming. We see him on the bridge of that ship, so we know that Morgan gets to him. It's inevitable. But the question is, where are our heroes at that time? And will Ezra be the same? Or will he be something different? There's a lot of questions out there. People are saying Sabine is a 30-year-old spoiled brat, not showing up for celebration. Women get PTSD. Many soldiers don't enjoy pomp and circumstance. Okay, let's dive into this for a minute. She's a 30-year-old warrior. And PTSD aside, she puts her life on hold. She puts her life on hold to go and protect Lothal for Ezra. Okay. And then potentially she loses her whole damn family on Mandalore during the Night of 1,000 Tears. The woman has some PTSD. Yeah, that's okay. You know what, Don? People get mad at me all the time for saying that Luke has PTSD when he goes to Octu. Just saying. PTSD could be a real thing in Star Wars. We don't know. Kenobi's got some PTSD. But is that okay? I don't know. You want to see some Night Sister magic? Well, I don't know how much more we're going to get of her Night Sister magic, because it seems like we're going to go get Ezra and Thrawn. I don't know how this is going to work out. Are the Purgle going to help our heroes get across the galaxy? Or are they going to stow away on the magic rings that Morgan Elsbeth has created? Or will Morgan get there by herself, bringing Grand Admiral Thrawn back to our galaxy? We're going to catch that on Tuesday. But I am looking forward to it. It's been a fantastic experience. Could this be the episode where we get to see Anakin? Will we see Anakin? And when? There's a lot of questions in the air. There's a lot of unknowns. Everybody anticipates us going to this galaxy far, far away. That could be the last episode. We don't know. But I do know that I hold a lot of faith in Steve. Hi, Steve. I hold a lot of faith in Dave. Dave is not going to drive his favorite bus over a cliff. Yeah, I'm not reading that shit. So there's a lot going on. Last thoughts. I hope everybody enjoys the show. I wanted to just kind of chill out. Late night. It's late for the East Coast. It's getting late for the West Coast. It's real early in the morning in Europe. London, Paris, Germany. It's real early over there. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of get out here and just get some of this out. Talk about this with you guys. Tried to give you a couple days to catch up. Watch it a couple times. I think I've seen it like 5 times now this episode. But when you're a content creator, you're constantly watching. I'm constantly watching for these little pearls. It's hard to make some of these videos without using videos. So it's hard to show the Purgle in images unless you're like bop, 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 but then you might as well be doing the movie. There's a lot of little pearls in this show, and I'm really looking forward to doing our chopper. Don't forget to keep your eye out. We're going to close this up soon. Don't forget to keep your eye out for the next installment of
What did he say?
And we're going to tell you what Chopper says every episode, because the Muggles do not understand what he is saying. It is midnight on the East Coast. He had to swing by and say hi. Oh, you're too kind. I don't have your drink right now. I don't have your cup with me. It's being cleaned. It's usually a It's usually a Tuesday operation, but it's dirty because I used it on Tuesday. It's 11 a.m., 1 hour before my birthday. Yeah, Steve, get it, girl. 11 a.m. Where the hell are you, Steve? You know, where the hell are you? Or 11 p.m. 11 p.m. makes more sense. Yeah, I can't watch a lot of the content right now because I don't want to ruin it. I like being surprised with content. There you go. Yeah, look, it's I don't want to ruin it. I said I was going to ruin it for everybody when everything came out, but I just can't bring myself to ruin it. Yeah, 11 p.m. That's what I thought, my guy. I was going to say, where are you, in freaking Korea? But yeah, look, there's a lot of positivity, there's a lot of negativity, but there's a lot of great stuff in this show. It's beautiful. It looks fantastic. The pearls that we get in there from Home One, the ship that was the original ship in Return of the Jedi, is the one we're seeing now. We saw the same war room in Jedi that we're seeing now. There's so many little pearls of wisdom. There's so many pearls to this content. It's so amazing that the way that they redesigned the sets to look like the original sets from Jedi. There's so much fun happening in this show that people are ignoring because they want to be angry, right? So be angry, be sad, be mad. I prefer to be happy. I'm enjoying this Star Wars. I'm enjoying this whole Sabine Ahsoka journey is exactly what I thought that this was going to be. I'm happy. I'm going to continue to be happy. The next 3 episodes are going to the next 3 episodes, I think because they do them in these little sets. I think the next 3 are going to be fantastic. I think the rest of them are going to be fantastic. But again, this is not George, this is Dave. This is his debut as a director. Everything looks great. The writing, I'm really enjoying the dialogue. Everything looks great. I love what Dave is doing so far. We got to remember, this is Dave's baby. This is his first induction into live action, and he's been doing a really great job so far. I've really enjoyed it. All right, everybody, we're gonna get out of here in honor, and I'm gonna you know what, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do it. Hold on, we're gonna do it. All right, stopping the music. For real though, I say this all the time. I say it every stream because I grew up listening to this exact statement every single chance I got to watch The Price is Right. I did. Bob Barker was a familiar voice in my head and continues to be when it comes to pets and the control of animal numbers across the country. So, in honor of the late, great Bob Barker, I steal his line every single show. And I will continue to do that until somebody sends me a letter sanctioning me from doing it. But as we always do, in honor of the great Bob Barker, don't forget to get out there and get your pet spayed and neutered, help control the pet population. As always, don't forget to tell the people in your life how you really feel, good or bad, because you never know what tomorrow brings for anybody. Furthermore, thank you for being here. As always, we continue to do this for myself and for you and to keep the positivity in Star Wars alive. It is a difficult road. We are paddling upstream on a constant basis, but I will continue to do this as long as the franchise doesn't literally make me stop. So, everybody, have yourselves a great evening. Tomorrow's Friday. It's the end of the work week. Let's go out with a bang. Everybody, put your best effort forward. Put your best foot forward tomorrow. Let's have a great Friday, leading into a weekend, leading into another great episode of Ahsoka on Tuesday. We might bring the band together over the next couple of days. We'll see how that goes. But I just wanted to get on here and do more of these one-on-one streams with you guys, answer your questions, talk to you, and let out how we feel about it because I'm really happy with everything that's going on. Thank you guys for being here. As always, may the force be with you. Have a great night. We'll catch you next time. Thank you.